Hello friends, this is Durga from IT University. As part of getting started with R, we will see how to set up RStudio Server in this video. So we will be setting up on a VM which will be having CentOS 6.x. So if you want instructions how to set up a VM, uh, you can go to my YouTube channel, IT University. So youtube.com/itversityin. Okay, and here you can go to the playlists, and there is a playlist. There is a playlist for Microsoft Windows for IT professionals. If you want to set up your environment, your Windows environment to learn latest and greatest technologies. It has details about setting up Cygwin, installing the necessary packages, and also have instructions to set up a VMware workstation on your Windows laptop or VMware Fusion on your Mac, and create a VM as a template. And I use that same template to clone into different VMs for different purposes. You can go through this video for end-to-end instructions for that. If you already have Cygwin, and if you know how to use Cygwin to connect to Linux boxes and all, and just want to have a template VM, you can go to this URL, create virtual machines on Mac or PC, and you can set up VMs. I will be using Mac for most of the demonstrations, and I will be using terminal to take care of connecting to servers and all those things. If you want to do it in Windows, if you use Cygwin, there will be hardly any differences between what I'm doing on my terminal against what you do on Cygwin. Again, to get more details about Cygwin, you should go to this Microsoft Windows for IT Professionals playlist, and you have to set up your environment uh, as per the instructions provided. That being said, why we need to have RStudio Server before setting it up? So in production environments or in any enterprise, um, um, all the data scientists or developers, whoever want to use R, they typically have to collaborate with each other. And if they use RStudio Desktop on Windows or Mac, then collaboration can be a challenge. For that reason, they typically go with RStudio Server, um, either on a Ubuntu or Red Hat OS, and give access to multiple stakeholders in the enterprise. And all the stakeholders can collaborate now by running against RStudio Server. RStudio Desktop might be used for development purposes, but for production purposes, they typically use RStudio Server. So it is very important for data scientists to understand this, because typically teams will be small. Because of the cloud, company will say, okay, go ahead and set up your RStudio server and start working on that. Then a data scientist should be capable of setting it up easily. And if they don't, then in smaller to medium-sized organizations where they don't have in-house strong IT support team, definitely it will be a challenge for data scientists to get the work done in timely manner. So to simulate that, we will be creating a virtual machine, and that virtual machine you can visualize as a Linux server, either in cloud or on-prem. Typically, you will get with root access, and you don't need to set up virtual machine or a Linux server, but you should have access to root. But for the demonstration purpose, I'm also showing how you can actually set up VM by yourself. so that you can familiarize with steps by doing this on your PC or desktop or a Mac. So now let's go ahead. I'm assuming that you already have knowledge about Cygwin if you are using Windows, Terminal if you are using Mac, and then you have the template VM like this, and from here you have to right click on this and click on create full clone, and then you have to give the location where you want to create. So I have a directory called research on my home page, sorry, home location on my Mac, which have another directory called big data. I have created a directory for R, and I want to name my virtual machine as R server and click on save. Okay, now the clone is done. We have to take care of certain post clone activities. For that we need to start, I'm sorry, before starting you have to take another step if you are using Mac. If you are using Windows, you can directly start, but when it comes to Mac, you have to go to network adapter and go to network adapter settings, and here you have to expand these advanced options and you have to regenerate the MAC address. If you don't regenerate the MAC address, there is a chance that you are conflicting with existing MAC addresses when it comes to Mac or Apple laptops, and it can cause issues. In Windows, this regeneration of MAC address for your virtual machine is taken care automatically by the VMware Workstation if you are using VMware Workstation. But in Mac, the counterpart of VMware Workstation is VMware Fusion. It does not regenerate the MAC addresses automatically. So you have to take care of this by going here and by clicking on this generate button. It will generate a unique MAC address, which is virtual network adapter for the virtual machine. So once you regenerate, you can close it and you can start the R server. It will just take a moment. So once it is started, for the first time you have to log in using the console, which is part of VMware Fusion. But once you set up this post clone activities and once you can access this VM from with an IP address, then you will be able to log in using your terminal or Cygwin. But for the first time, to perform the post clone activities, you have to log in using the console, which is tightly coupled with VMware Workstation or Fusion if it is Mac. So I am giving my password, which I have used while creating the template, and now what I have to do is I have to open etc sysconfig network, and I want to name that VM as rserver.it/ct.com. So this is the this will be the name of your server, and all these are actually covered as part of the playlist which I have explained earlier. So I will not be getting into too many details here, but we have taken care of naming our server as rserver.it/ct.com, and now we have to configure the network by going to etc sysconfig network scripts ifcfg eth0, and here we have to give a unique IP address. In this case, I am giving it as 180, so you can give whatever you want. But the first 3 octets, which is 192, 168, 225 in this case, should match your virtual network adapters that comes as part of your Windows operating system. And again, those details are extensively covered on the other 2 playlists. You can go and look into that if you want to know how I come up with the first 3 octets of the IP address, which is 192, 168, 225. So I'm saving it now, And once it is done, we have to delete this file etc udev rules.d and 70 persistent net.rules. So this file have to be deleted, and also we would like to provide aliases for this host or for this Linux server by going to /etc/hosts file. Here I have to give the IP address which is which is given as part of the ifcfgeth0 file while setting up the network in this video. Our IP address is 180, 192.168.225 are the first three octets, which has to be in line with your virtual adapters on your underlying operating system. And then you can give as many aliases as you want. In etc sysconfig network, you only give one name for your Linux server. In this case, we are giving multiple aliases for this Linux server, and one alias will be rserver.itversity.com, and second alias will be short form of it, which is rserver, and then save it, and then you have to reboot it. While rebooting, we will also update fc host file on our PC or Mac using Cygwin or terminal, so that we can access this VM from now onwards using an alias rather than using IP address 192.168.225.100. For that, let me launch the command line interface. Now you can see that I am in the terminal, and I have to open fc host file, and it will ask for the password, and you have to enter the password. Okay, here I am giving the IP address first, which is 192.168.225.180, and the two aliases I want to give on my PC is rserver.itversity.com and rserver. So whatever steps we have taken so far, you don't need to do as part of setting up rserver on an enterprise environment. You will be getting a pre-built server by SA team, or you have to provision from the cloud like AWS, Azure, etc. And when you provision itself, you need to take care of the underlying OS and all those things, and you can start from whatever doing now onwards. So first, let's assume that we have a server with IP address 192.168.225.100 or 180 with aliases rserver.itversity.com or rserver as part of etc host file or enterprise DNS server. So in this case, we have to give root at the alias and hit enter. I have enabled passwordless login on my template, so it will not prompt for the password in this case. It will directly log in. Okay, so I am already inside that. If you want to set up this passwordless login, you can go to the same playlist, either Microsoft Windows for IT professionals or virtual machine, setting up virtual machines. I have covered SSH aspect of it also. So now you have the server. So once you have the server, you have to now start downloading all the softwares that are required for RStudio, RStudio Server. Again, as we have seen with RStudio Desktop, RStudio is dependent upon R. So you need to install R first before installing RStudio, and yum is the command which works in Red Hat flavors like Red Hat, CentOS, and Fedora. It actually downloads and installs the software. So if you think about installing a software on any machine, it typically comprises of three parts. First one is downloading the software, second one is installing the software, and third one is configuring the software so that it can run um, as expected. So yum is a CentOS or Red Hat based command which can automate all these steps for you. It can download the software, it can install the software, and also it will actually set up default configurations for you. And so all the repositories or all the softwares are divided into Red Hat or CentOS or Fedora repositories and the third-party repositories. So when it comes to R, they will not be R is not part of the default repository. If you want, you have to add another repository called EPEL, which is not default in most of the environments. So first you can run yum-y install R. If it works, well and good. If it does not work, that means you don't have EPEL and you have to install EPEL. So first let us do yum-y install. Yum is the command, main command, and -y is if it prompts, it will take S as default, and install is the command to add new software on your Linux server, which is of Red Hat or CentOS or Fedora flavor. And then you can type R and hit enter. So it says no package are available. That means it does not have EPEL. So first we need to download and install EPEL. So if you have to download, you can use the wget command. That downloadable is provided in the form of RPM as part of the Fedora repositories. There can be alternatives also, but I'm using this one. And just copy that and paste it. And there is no wget here. So first we need to install wget. Wget is the command which will facilitate you to download any software from the public repositories using URLs with the HTTP protocol. Okay, so yum-y install wget and hit enter. It will just take a moment. It's already installed. Now you can actually wget on the Fedora project to get the RPM for EPEL. Once that is done, you need to perform the install. So wget will actually download for the current location if you don't specify -o and give the target location and file name. Now you have this one here. So as it is already local, you can run yum local install. So the local install will go through this RPM and install everything related to this. And here I did not use -y, so it is actually prompting to whether to install it or not, and type y here, and now it is installed. Let me add -y here also. I will provide all the scripts in the description of the video, so you can go to the description and you can get the list of these commands. So copy this one, yum-y install, and now it will start installing R, and it requires many dependencies, so it will take time, probably around a couple of minutes. We will see once the installation is done. So the installation is still going on. Once it is done, I will resume. You can see that it has 85 packages that needs to be installed. So the download is done. Now the installation has started, and there are a few additional dependent packages also which will be taken care as part of this step. So when you actually try to do this on enterprise environment, it might not work as is. So there could be some issues, and you need to troubleshoot and fix those things. But doing this exercise will give you a lot of comfort, and it will save a lot of time for you to actually deliver a POC or a project as a data scientist for an enterprise. But when you run into issues when doing this, if you are not very good at Linux, then I will highly recommend you to first check with internal SA team and make sure that most likely they will answer your problem and they will come up with a solution for your problem. If not, then only go to Google and try to find a solution. Don't directly jump onto Google to resolve the issue. It can cause a lot of confusion. So first check with the SA team if you are not very good at Linux. So now the installation is done. So the next step is to install R. So if this command works, that means EPEL is already there, and you need not worry much about it. But if this command does not work before, okay, it is actually, I think after how come? Yeah, the previous command is minstall R only. So R is already installed. So now I need to download and install RStudio Server. So this is the URL. The URL might not work when you try to set it up. So you need to go to RStudio documentation to get the latest URL. For that, you can go to Google and type download RStudio and go to RStudio Server, this link, and here there is a tab for Red Hat or CentOS. We are using Red Hat or CentOS, so you should use this tab. If you are using Ubuntu, you can use this one. Ubuntu, the commands will be a little different. There is no yum in Ubuntu. As we are talking about Red Hat, we are going here, and you can see that depending upon the version, which is Red Hat CentOS 6 and 7, we need to execute these two steps for the current version, for the latest version at the time of demonstrating this. So already I have copied this wget and sudo command from here into the PPT for our reference. So use these two. Wget will actually download the RStudio Server for you. It will take a moment because it is around 33.4 MB. So depending upon the speed, it can take a good amount of time. Right now the speed is very slow, so I am pausing it, and I will resume once the package is downloaded. Okay, package is luckily downloaded pretty fast, and now you need to install it by using this command. As we are using root user, you don't need to do sudo. But if the SA team does not give you root access for all these yum commands, you should seek for sudo to root by so they will add you to a sudoers file, and you will be even though you don't have direct access to root account, you will be able to execute commands as root by using sudo. So make sure either you have sudo access or you have access to the root itself. Okay, here I want to put -y so that I don't need to worry about the prompts, and Control V to paste. So now it is actually installing RStudio Server, which is done. So once it is done, you can run this command to verify the installation and start the server if the server is not up. Okay, now it stopped and restarted the server, and by default our server runs on port 8787, and you need to be aware of that port number so that you can access through URL from your PC. Okay, so now our server is running on a remote machine, in this case virtual machine, which is simulating that remote machine, but you will be able to access using a browser on your PC. So let's go to the browser. I am opening Firefox on my PC, and I am giving URL as http://rserver.itversity.com, which is there in my etc host file. If it is not there in etc host file, or if the server is not registered in enterprise DNS, you will not be able to directly access using alias like this. Instead, you have to use uh, physical IP address, which is 192.168.225.180 in my case, and the port number is 8787, and hit enter. Now it will prompt you to log into RStudio. To log into RStudio, you need to create a user, which I will come back to in a moment. So once the installation is done, you should also validate whether the server is up and running or not properly. For that, you can run this command called ps-ef and then grep 4887, because this has given the process ID, and hit enter, and you can see that our server is running on our Linux server. And also you should have telnet to make sure that the port in question is working as expected. For that, you need to make sure to have telnet installed. Typically in an enterprise, when they give you Linux server, they will have telnet. If not, you will have to ask them. Once you have telnet, you can say rserver.itversity.com, which is the IP address or alias for our server, and then give the port number. And it will come very handy to troubleshoot the issues. Sometimes, even though server is up and running, you might not be able to access. So for that, to confirm whether the server is up and running, you have to you can actually do the telnet on the port, and if it is up and running, and if you are not able to access it, that means a firewall might be blocking. Again, you have to talk with your enterprise Linux administration team or system administration team and make sure the 8787 port is opened by them. Okay, but in our case, it's our server and we have full control on that. We already disabled default Red Hat firewalls, which is IP tables, and we don't have any third-party firewalls. So for us, it's a smooth walk. But in enterprise, it's quite common to get into the issue of not able to access the server after the installation. There could be only two reasons for that. First, the port number might be different, so you need to make sure that make sure that you are aware of the port number. Once you know the port number, you can use telnet command and make sure if it is if the port number is working or not. If it is working, then most likely the issue is with firewall. And that being said, I am coming out of it. Now, to log into RStudio using your browser, you need to have a user, and the way you have to create the user is by creating OS level users for whoever you want to give access to. So in this case, my name is Durga Gadiraju, and I want to give access to the account Durga Gadiraju. For that, I have to add a Linux-based user add command to add that user. So before adding the user, I want to create a group with name R server or RStudio. Okay, and then I want to create a user D Gadiraju for account D, so that I can actually log into the RStudio as my personal account, and it will not let you to log in using root in RStudio. You cannot use root, so you have to have other users user accounts for each and every stakeholder for which you want to give access to. So user add D Gadiraju and then group RStudio and hit enter. Once the user is added, you have to give password command to set the password for this account. So passwd is the command and hit enter. In this case, I want to give it as itversity as a password, and now the password is also available. Now I can actually type D Gajaraju and my password ITversity. If I want to stay signed in whenever I come back to this, I can choose this option and click on sign in. And now I'm in the RStudio. Okay, so it is the user interface is similar to RStudio desktop. Only difference is now we have the user interface as part of a browser. You don't need to install any client to access RStudio server. You just can access by using IP address and port number of our RStudio server. From here you can access iris data, and you can run these R commands like head iris to just preview the data. If you want to get the summary of our iris data, you can use that also and hit enter. And then you can actually save this as a script, first by creating the new file R script, and you can type these commands head iris summary iris, and you can save by saying save as, and it will be saved into your home directory. We will see what that home directory in a moment. So the file name is testing.r. Save it. Now if you go back to the terminal, if you, for each and every user, the default home directory will be /home/dgajaraju, which is the username itself, and you can do ls-ltr, and you can see this testing.r, the script which is saved here. If you want to save it to a different location, you can use you can again go to click on save as, and then you can go to the directories in your home directory, and you can change the path. So for example, you can create a folder here, directory, and if you do it here, you can see that directory here, and you can actually now save into that. So from here you can manage scripts effectively by using the web-based IDE for our server. Like this, multiple users can collaborate, and we can actually give a access to common repository also, so that everyone can collaborate with each other. And now you don't need to worry about backing up your scripts, worry too much about the data on your R server. So that's it about setting up RStudio Server on a virtual machine or on a Linux environment. And as part of the subsequent videos, I will be using RStudio Server as much as possible to demonstrate, because that's what people have to use typically as part of their job in most of the enterprises. I will try to switch between RStudio Server and RStudio Desktop wherever it is relevant. Otherwise, I will try to use it as RStudio Server. That being said, I hope you are enjoying the content on my channel and on this playlist. If you like this video, please click on the like button. If you have any technical questions and want to provide feedback, please use the comment section of the video. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. You will get to see a lot more content over time on my channel. It will definitely grow bigger and better over time. Thank you. Bye.